Joining us for this segment of Reaching Out is our Senator from New York, United States Senator Charles Schumer. Welcome back to Reaching Out.
It's great to be back, Greg. It's coming at a great time for me. I know this will have aired already, so hopefully my daughter will be married. She's getting married Sunday. We're all excited. And guess what? It's a gift from God. We like the guy.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
a blessing.
It is a blessing. You know, I'm a person of faith. Mm-hmm. And God, I was lucky. God gave me a lot of good traits, but I used those traits to climb the ladder up. As you know,
yes.
It was not so easy for me, but everything worked out. But this one, I had nothing to do with. It's a total gift from God that she met the right guy, and I'm so grateful, and we're so happy.
You know, I could tell you, you've done, I would say, thousands and thousands of interviews. But this one I feel special because you shared something personal with our audience.
I did.
And I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I think I got right there. That's an exclusive for us.
Thank you.
As you know, we represent over 8,000 members that work in New York City public housing.
Yes,
and
sir.
they live in that public housing development also. There are so many problems at NYCHA, and we are struggling now as management tries to find scapegoats and ways to explain their failures. But one thing we can't disagree about is the federal funding.
You bet. Look, the right-wingers who have sort of run the show in the House and to some extent in the Senate, they don't understand public housing. They don't understand what a great investment it is. In New York City, with close to 600,000 people in public housing, that's bigger than all but 5 or 6 cities in the United States. Well, if you had an investment in those cities, would you let it go down the drain? Absolutely not. So the investment in public housing is really, really important, and Washington neglects it too much of the time. And it's throwing away money because over the years, starting in the New Deal, we put billions and billions of dollars into building this housing. There are some housing authorities in other places that may not be well run, but New York City does a good job. I mean, we obviously don't think they can do better, but it's regarded as a well-run housing authority. So, I've worked on various things. We did federalize the remaining projects, Nydia Velázquez and I, and that got more money. But because they are so negative towards public housing, the Republicans who are in charge, we find other ways. And Sandy, as devastating as it was sort of a blessing in disguise in one way only. And that is, it enabled us not only to get money to repair the so many projects in Coney Island, on the Lower East Side, in Rockaway, and other places that were damaged, but I wrote into the law, I was the person responsible for writing this Sandy law, which brought $60 billion to New York, that we could not just put back what was there, but bring new things. So the old boiler systems, which often broke down and people were without heat, in like 110 buildings, we're going to put in brand new boilers, new systems, new landscaping, new kinds of things that were part of Sandy money. We argued that Sandy shouldn't just be to replace what was. If you're going to spend the money, bring in updated, modernized, newer equipment, and we were able to do that. It's going to provide work for Teamsters, obviously, to maintain this and put this in. But it's also, most importantly, going to provide better residence for the people who live in public housing, who I've always defended throughout my career. But we're going to keep fighting for more public housing funds, both operating, very important. That's the investment. But even construction. We used to put in money for construction because here in New York, we have a desperate shortage of affordable housing. There's no better way to build affordable housing than build public housing. And so we have done a bunch of things. I just led an appropriations letter asking the appropriators this year to appropriate more money for public housing.
Do you know how much, or you just...
Yeah, I think it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars. It would be a very significant increase.
Very good, very good. I mean, it's encouraging hearing that. A lot of people don't understand that you are one of the advocates for public housing, and you just never stop thinking about it.
Never stop. We always look for old ways and new ways to get the money. The old ways are the old formulas and stuff, which they've tried to cut, and we fight them cutting it back. We did. The good news for us this year, The Republicans put in something called sequestration. They just slashed the budget across the board. And this year we came to a budget agreement where there's no more sequestration. So we'll get an increase in domestic funding of all types, whether it's transportation or education or housing. So there's a little more flexibility than there was in the past. We still have to deal with them. As you know, the Republicans run both the House and Senate. They have never been terribly friendly. In old days they were, but in recent years they have never been friendly to public housing. So it's a fight. But hey, Greg, as you know, I'm from Brooklyn. I'm a fighter.
Yes, you are. Judge Garland has been nominated by the President Obama for a seat on the Supreme Court. But it seems that most Republicans aren't willing to budge by even considering his nomination.
Okay. I think they may have to fold. Let me first say one thing. This hard right group I talked about, they want to control the Supreme Court more than they want to control either other branch of government. Why? Lifetime appointment, goes for a generation. Second, they're not elected, so they can sort of do what they want. And when they had Roberts and Alito added to the court by George Bush, and you for the first time got a five-member conservative majority, look at what they did. A, they allowed money to cascade into politics with this decision that most lawyers were amazed at, Citizens United. Anyone could put any amount of money under the First Amendment. Then, voting rights. North Carolina elected a very, very conservative government. They used to be more moderate. And they passed a law that made it really hard for new people, people of color, poorer people, to vote. Some of the states are saying you have to show proof of citizenship to vote. They say, oh, they're doing it because there's fraud. They can't point to any fraud. They're doing it to prevent poorer people, people of minority groups, not to vote because they're Democrats. The court allowed it. I was amazed. And then, as a leader of the Teamsters, as one of the great labor leaders in New York and America, they were trying to get rid of unions.
That's true.
They were trying to get rid of unions. And I'd say two things about that. First, their legal reasoning was crazy. There is a First Amendment right if you're a member of a union and you don't like who the union's supporting. You don't have to pay a small percentage of your union dues to support that candidate. Okay, fair enough. They said the First Amendment applies to collective bargaining. They would make America a right-to-work country. You believe in middle-class incomes, as I do, there would be nothing more harmful, nothing, than getting rid of unions. But they could, like they tried at the state level and had some success, say, in Wisconsin. So that was an awful decision.
There are today too many reports about violence, gun violence, and people fearful of being stabbed here in New York. And a sense that we just might be sliding back into the old days. How do you see it?
Well, you know, if you talk to the mayor and Commissioner Bratton, they show you that overall crime statistics are not going up. But people want to feel safe. So when you read about these slashings or something, you don't feel safe. And they seem to occur anywhere randomly to anybody else. So I have always felt that one of the main jobs of our city is to keep crime down. Has to be.
Yes.
It's one of the, when men and women created governments thousands of years ago, there were only two functions government had in those early days. One was to prevent invasion, so they need an army, but the other was to keep the domestic peace, so they needed what they called in those days a constabulary police force. We need it, and we need to make sure that we have enough police on the beat. We need to make sure they patrol the community in a respectful way, so we keep crime down. Really important, and it's really important at NYCHA.
Yes.
Our housing authority needs to have the adequate police to keep people safe.
Yeah, it seems that since the housing police have been merged with the police department, there are less police officers available for housing.
I think that is true. I don't know why they merged to begin with, but I think when there was a specialized police force, it understood the special needs of public housing, and they understood the territory.
Yes.
You know, they covered just, you know, this project, not the whole neighborhood, where they were occasionally visiting the housing, you know, the public housing, but not being there all the time.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for reaching out. Once again, we want to congratulate you on the marriage of your daughter, Jessica, and that's all the time we have for reaching out. I'm Gregory Floyd, President Local 237. Our very special guest, once again, was United States Senator Charles Schumer.
And Greg, keep up the good work, and let me thank all your workers who do such a great job.
Thank you very much.